The fluorescent lights buzzed faintly overhead as Emily wiped down the counter at the small convenience store on the edge of town. It was just past 11 p.m., closing time, and the parking lot outside was empty except for her old beat-up sedan. She was 19, working the night shift to pay for community college classes, and tonight had been unusually quiet. The last customer had left over an hour ago, a group of burly men in leather vests, riding loud motorcycles that rumbled like thunder as they pulled in for coffee and snacks. They'd been polite, even tipping her a few dollars for the fresh pot she brewed just for them. Emily smiled at the memory. They called themselves the Iron Riders, some local biker club, and despite their intimidating looks, tattoos snaking up their arms, beards thick and wild, they'd chatted amiably about the weather and the long road ahead. Now, the store was locked up tight. Emily had flipped the sign to "closed," dimmed the lights, and was counting the till, eager to get home to her tiny apartment and crash. The bikers had lingered longer than expected, nursing their coffees in the back booth near the restrooms, but she figured they'd slipped out the front while she was in the stockroom. No harm, the store felt peaceful in the silence. She stacked the bills neatly, humming a tune under her breath, the scent of stale chips and cleaning spray filling the air. Outside, 3 figures huddled in the shadows near the door. They were young, mid-20s, dressed in hoodies and baggy jeans, faces partially hidden by caps pulled low. They'd been watching the store for the last half hour, waiting for the lights to dim and the girl inside to be alone. Jake, the leader, smirked as he rattled the door handle. It was locked, just as planned. "Easy pickings," he muttered to his buddies, Mike and Tony. "Skinny little thing in there, no one's around this late." They weren't after the money in the register primarily, it was the thrill, the power, harassing someone vulnerable after hours. They'd done it before at other spots: bang on the glass, yell crude remarks, scare the worker into opening up or just freak them out for fun. Jake pounded on the glass door with his fist, the sound echoing sharply in the quiet night. "Hey! Open up, sweetheart," he shouted, his voice slurred from the beers they'd downed earlier. Emily froze behind the counter, her heart jumping into her throat. She looked up, seeing the 3 shadowy figures leering through the glass. "We're closed," she called out, trying to sound firm, but her voice cracked. She backed away slightly, hand hovering near the silent alarm button under the counter. The pounding grew louder. Mike joined in, kicking the base of the door lightly. "Come on, baby, let us in. We just want some service." Tony laughed, pressing his face against the glass, making obscene gestures. Emily's cheeks burned with fear and anger. She grabbed her phone, fingers trembling as she dialed 911, but the signal was weak out here on the highway, common problem. "Please leave," she yelled back, "or I'm calling the cops." But they only laughed harder, Jake pulling out a crowbar from his jacket. "Open up, or we'll make you," he threatened, wedging the tool into the door frame. Inside, Emily's mind raced. The door was reinforced, but it wouldn't hold forever against determined force. She glanced toward the back booth, hoping maybe someone was still there. No, empty. Or was it? A faint clink of a coffee mug caught her ear from the shadows near the restrooms. Her eyes widened. The bikers. They hadn't left. The 5 of them were still there, sitting quietly in the dim light, watching the scene unfold through the aisles. The leader, a grizzled man named Hank with a long gray beard and a patch-covered vest, exchanged glances with his brothers. They'd been taking their time, enjoying the quiet after a long ride, using the restroom one by one. Now, their expressions hardened. Emily didn't notice them yet, too focused on the door starting to splinter under the crowbar's pressure. The thugs were getting bolder, their harassment turning threatening. "You're gonna regret locking us out, girl," Jake snarled. The door groaned as the lock began to give way. The door burst open with a crash, shards of glass scattering across the floor as the 3 thugs piled in, laughing triumphantly. Jake led the way, crowbar still in hand, his eyes locking onto Emily behind the counter. She stumbled back, knocking over a display of candy bars, her phone clattering to the floor. Stay back, she screamed, grabbing a mop handle as a makeshift weapon, but her hands shook violently. The men spread out, circling toward her like predators. "Ah, look at her, all scared," Mike taunted, reaching for a shelf and knocking items to the ground. Tony hopped over the counter, grinning wickedly. "Time for some fun, huh?" Emily's heart pounded so hard she thought it might explode. She swung the mop weakly, but Tony easily dodged and grabbed her wrist, twisting it until she dropped it with a yelp. Jake approached slowly, savoring her terror. "No one's coming to save you, kid. Just relax." The air filled with their crude jokes and threats, the store that had felt safe moments ago now a nightmare. But they were wrong about no one coming. From the shadows at the back, heavy boots thudded against the tile. The 5 bikers rose as one, their massive frames emerging into the light. Hank, the leader, cracked his knuckles, his deep voice booming like thunder. "Boys, you picked the wrong night." The thugs spun around, faces paling as they took in the sight, 5 hardened men, leather-clad, arms like tree trunks, staring them down with cold fury. Jake tried to puff up, brandishing the crowbar. "This ain't your business, old man. Get lost." But his voice wavered. The youngest biker, a tattooed giant named Rex, stepped forward first, snatching the crowbar mid-swing and bending it effortlessly with his bare hands before tossing it aside. "It is now," he growled. The bald one, called Bear, moved like lightning, grabbing Mike by the collar and slamming him against a fridge door, the glass cracking under the impact. Tony released Emily and lunged at another biker, but he was met with a solid punch to the gut that doubled him over, gasping. Hank advanced on Jake, towering over him. "You think it's fun scaring a young girl alone? Harassing someone who can't fight back?" Jake swung wildly, but Hank blocked it easily, countering with a hook that sent Jake sprawling into a shelf, cans raining down. The fight was over almost as quick as it started. The bikers moved with practiced coordination, not brutal killers, but men who'd seen rough roads and protected their own. No weapons drawn, just overwhelming strength and righteous anger. The thugs groaned on the floor, bruised and subdued, begging for mercy as the bikers zip-tied them with cords from the store shelves. Emily stood frozen, tears streaming down her face, but relief flooding in. Hank approached her gently, hands raised. "You okay, miss? We're sorry we didn't step in sooner, wanted to see how far they'd go." She nodded shakily, whispering thanks. The bikers called the police themselves, standing guard until the sirens arrived. In the aftermath, as cops hauled the thugs away, the Iron Riders helped Emily clean up the mess, even paying for the damaged door out of pocket. "We look scary, but we got codes," Hank explained with a kind smile. "Protect the innocent, especially women working hard." Emily hugged each of them, the fear melting into gratitude. Word spread about the incident, turning the bikers into local heroes. For Emily, it was a night she'd never forget, a reminder that guardians can come in unexpected forms, and sometimes, the toughest exteriors hide the biggest hearts. From then on, the Iron Riders made it a point to check in on the store during late shifts, and Emily felt safer knowing that in a world full of threats, there were still good men riding the roads.